What's up guys and welcome. You are watching Fazi Fitness. So let's start this video with the latest physique update of Rubiel Mosquera aka Nexilla. So a lot of bodybuilding fans are really disappointed with Rubiel because he dropped out of a total of 4 shows this year, and he was actually confirmed for some of those shows. The Arnold Classics, the New York Pro, Italy Pro and finally UK Pro. And UK Pro is scheduled to be happening this coming weekend. But still I have to say he is a rising bodybuilding star. And this update, where he is a little more than 9 weeks out of his next show which is gonna be Prague Pro, I have to say he looks very impressive. So his current coach Francisco Espin, he was the one who brought him in a great condition at the same show last year when he made his open bodybuilding debut. And that was actually better than what he looked like at this year's Dubai Pro, especially in terms of conditioning. And once again Rubiel has given full authority to his coach with his diet and his training. So you can see his biggest weakness in that first shot, the front relaxed pose. He lacks that V-taper, but that guy has so much muscle that he doesn't need to be perfect in order to qualify for the Olympia. I mean, he is the biggest freak of nature in the modern times. The kind of muscle mass that he carries, we haven't seen that in the recent past. And he has some very mind-blowing body parts. His quads, his calves, they are some of the biggest ones in the IFB Pro League right now. And in my opinion, people are kinda underestimating him on just one bad showing, which by the way wasn't that bad. He missed his peak at this year's Dubai Pro, and the caliber of competition at that show that was pretty high. So Rubiel, if he is able to replicate that same condition in 9 weeks time, as he did at last year's Prague, with the current size that he has, I have to say he has a great shot at winning his first pro show and also getting an early qualification for the Olympia 2025. And I think we can all agree on one thing. He was able to improve his aesthetics in just 1 year. His front double biceps looked very much improved at this year's Dubai Pro. And the guy is just 28 years old. So give him some time and he is gonna be there, and he is gonna be on the Olympia stage possibly as soon as next year. Next up is the physique update of Hunter Librano, who just won Italy Pro this past weekend. So mixed feelings among the bodybuilding community right now after watching Hunter win in Italy. But there was one thing on which everyone agreed, that this was in fact the biggest version of Hunter to date. But there is also an agreement on one fact, that Hunter was kinda flat, especially from the front in certain areas at this show, like for instance his chest and his midsection. Now we can compare Hunter from Tampa Pro last year versus Italy Pro this year, and Tampa Pro version looks better in almost every single shot. But there is one thing that people are not considering here, the lighting, which were near perfect at Tampa Pro last year, and they weren't that impressive at Tampa Pro. But even then you can see the improvements, especially in his back double biceps shot. He looks so much thicker and denser this time. Plus his arms and his delts were looking way better, way fuller in Italy compared to Tampa Pro. So did this recent victory of Hunter, did that help him as a contender for this year's top 5? So based on this look, I have to say no. I think he is more vulnerable now, because the pictures and the videos that we saw just a few days out of the show, those did not translate on the stage. And that is strictly speaking based on his peak for this show. And that is why Hunter is right back on the plan. Just 1 day after the show, he was spotted training at the famous Pittsburgh Pro Gym with Jim Mannion and all these other guys. And I believe 30 days is still plenty of time to dig deep and to bring a much tighter and a much drier and a much more fuller package for this year's Miss Olympia. And that is exactly what Hunter is gonna do. That new muscle tissue is there. He's rounder everywhere, his quads were huge, and once he comes in more fuller, this is gonna be an altogether different look for Hunter. And if he can nail his conditioning, that is gonna be really dangerous.
Bucket list thing today. I am in the Mannion's gym, training with Ben and the man himself, Jim. Say what's up, Jim.
What's up?
I asked Jim what he likes to train to, and he said Frank Sinatra, and I said, done.
Up next is the physique update of Stephane, a little more than 4 weeks out of his classic physique Olympia debut. But interestingly, he speaks about the possibility of switching to the men's open bodybuilding for the very first time since he turned pro and since he came onto the scene. And I have to say sooner or later, he's gonna have to make that switch to the men's open bodybuilding for good. Because it is just the start of his pro career, and he is already suffering so damn hard to make that weight cut off every time he preps for a show. And the thing is, he is losing nothing but muscle every time he drops down to his weight cutoff for classic. And I think we can all agree on this. His body wants to get bigger, it wants to grow, and he is doing nothing but just restricting his growth. Now there is no denying this fact, that his look at this year's Prodigal Pro, that was his all-time best. But I think all of us can agree on this one, he can bring that same condition with a lot more fullness and pop to his muscle, because he does lose a lot of roundness and fullness, which is something that is really avoidable if he switches over to the men's open. And the thing is, that is always gonna be the case if he stays in classic. So this is gonna be a tough decision for Stephane, because I believe he is on his way to crack top 10 at his first ever Miss Olympia, based on the fact that the guy he was able to beat at Prodigal Pro, Vahid Badepi, he placed 9th in the world last year. And to be this successful in the men's open bodybuilding, Stephane will have to go through some years of growing, building up some more muscle mass. But at the same time, I believe he is gonna grow extremely damn fast, because he is limiting his calories for years now. Now that being said, I am excited to see how he compares with the top guys in classic at this year's Miss Olympia. He looks absolutely insane right now in his recent update, and one can only imagine how deep he still has to dig from this point onwards to make that weight cutoff. So next up is the physique update of the former Miss Olympia in the 212, Kamal, and also the reigning Masters Olympia champion. So this is the very first time Kamal has posted a physique update in 2024. So the tank top is back, which means things have now started to click for Kamal. So he has been on a break ever since he won last year's Masters Olympia. And although he did say that he would like to compete in the men's Open Olympia and then retire there at that stage, but we did not see that happen in 2023, even though he was qualified for the Olympia last year. So Masters Olympia is gonna be back in 2025, and it is more than likely that Kamal is shifting gears to defend his title. So now with Keon Pearson being the reigning 212 champion, there is no chance that Kamal is gonna compete in the 212. But still, he has all it takes to win another Masters Olympia title next year. So the audience that was there at last year's Master Olympia in person, when Kamal won that show, they said that he absolutely smoked that whole competition, which included guys like Max Charles and Phil Klahar. And those guys weighed a lot more than Kamal. So Kamal is one of the greatest bodybuilders that we came across in the last 2 decades. I mean, can you guys believe that this guy was competing against a young Victor Martinez back in 2003 at the Night of the Champions, and he is still in the game, one of the all-time best, especially when it comes to longevity and also staying injury-free. Next up is the physique update of Theo, the winner of Japan Pro last year. And technically speaking, he was the first one to qualify for this year's Mr. Olympia, because the top 3 guys from the Olympia, they get that automatic qualification, and Samson Dauda was top 3, and he won the 2 shows that were lined up right after the Olympia last year. So Theo won the 3rd and the last show of 2023, and he earned his Olympia spot there. So he gets very little media attention because he lacks what we call the wow factor, and also the fact that he doesn't post a lot of physique updates. So he doesn't have any standout body parts, but the guy knows how to get really shredded. So this is gonna be Theo's 3rd consecutive Miss Olympia. So he is already one of the best in the world, but this is the first time he trained for an entire year, solely focusing on just one show. So he had a much desired long off season, which is supposed to reveal some big differences in his physique when he steps on stage in 30 days time. So never doubt for a second that Theo will be out of shape. Just look at all the shows that he did back in 2023. Before he eventually won in Japan, he was peeled in every single one of those. And the guy that Theo was able to beat in Japan, Alfred Chiriak, he was like hard as a rock. But still Theo got the upper hand. So most of the people really care about the guys who are gonna be making the top 10. But those guys like Theo, they deserve equal respect and appreciation. Because if you are on that Olympia stage, you are already among the best of the best. So hit the thumbs up button if you liked the video. And smash the subscribe button if you wanna come back for more. Thanks for watching.